Hi, I'm another fat bearded man talking about records, and tonight I am joined by my chum, otherwise known as...
Oh yeah, 6-inch pianist 319. That catchy title. Yeah.
You're John, I'm Headley.
Yeah.
So this was your idea, John, to get together for a stupid video that we're probably going to mess up.
Well, that's right, because obviously you like your country music, and I like my soul and funk music, and we sort of meet in the middle with country funk. So I thought it might be a good idea to for you to pull out some country funk records, and for me to pick out some sort of soulful records with a bit of country thrown in there as well. So let's see where we meet in the middle.
Yeah, kind of a cultural exchange.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I was really into funk and soul years ago, but I couldn't afford the records, so I bought I bought country.
Well, nor can I. Don't worry about it. You know, so that's what reissues are for. You know, so.
Okay, so I'm going to be coming with yes, as John said, so country artists or musicians that are kind of doing a funky kind of thing, and you're doing the opposite. So
yeah.
Do you want to go first, or shall I?
You go first. Yeah.
Okay.
Far away.
So the first one I'm going to show, this is Sherman Hayes, Catman. This is from, what's the date of it? I did write it down. 1973 on Barnaby Records, which is Andy Williams' record label, strangely.
Right.
Yeah, he was. It's kind of that. Yeah, it's got country, but it's also got rock. It's also got gospel. I mean, it's that thing that country funk is kind of like a real melting pot of all kinds of southern musical styles, really, isn't it? But it's everything that's going together: church music, rock and roll, country, R&B. It's all in there, and this has some great tunes on it. The track Catman, which is the lead track. There's also Creepy Crawly Feeling. I think that might be on one of the. No, I was going to think it might be on the country funk thing, but it's not. But yeah, I think I would suggest. In fact, I saw there's a copy on this on eBay for about £2.
Oh right, okay.
I think it's only in very good condition or something, but yeah, really nice stuff. It's who is it? I was just going to say it's got sort of various people on it, but yeah. But yeah, so that's. I think we're going to try and do some needle drops on these.
Yeah. So has it just got one or two funky tunes on it, or is it?
Yeah,
thing?
I mean that's the sort of thing. I should have perhaps said that a lot of the sort of the kind of countryside of things will have 2 or 3 really funky ones, then some sort of rocky ones, and then maybe some ballads. I was trying to think about this actually. It's a bit like, say, the Commodores. You know, like their early albums, where you get that mix between the sort of the funky stuff and then the ballads and the things. And I suppose there's a lot of funk albums that have that actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I always struggle with that actually. When even some of these records on the show today, when I first bought them, they didn't quite sit right with me, because I wanted funk tunes, and some of these have got a bit of everything going on, similar to what you just mentioned there. You've got the sort of country funk sound, but you've also got straight country and soul ballads and stuff like that. So I suppose when I was younger, I was just looking for out and out funk tunes. I just wanted the big funky beats. But yeah, so that sort of put me off a little bit. But this is actually, I'm going to start off with something which I discovered through this comp, which very well, the country funk comp. So this came out, was it Light in the Attic? So this is 2012. And one of the tracks on there is by Johnny Adams, called Country Morning Dew. Georgia Morning Dew. And not long after picking up that comp, I found this album. This is the album that it's from, Heart and Soul. Now, I say this is one of those albums which initially I didn't quite get. It's because of the mixture of styles, but I suppose eventually it's probably through this album and albums like it that I started to realise just how much country music is in soul music, particularly, as you say, that sort of southern soul sounds. So this, for example, so Johnny Adams, this is his debut album. It's on SSS International, so Shelby Singleton, yeah. And so just an example here, the opening track is Georgia Morning Dew, which is written by Margaret Lewis and Myra Smith. Now, Myra Smith wrote for Jeannie C. Riley. So straight away,
there's the SS, there's the Singleton, connection. I nearly pulled actually a Jeannie C. Riley record, actually.
Right, okay, yeah. So there's definitely a link there, and there's a few of the tracks in there which is written by that partnership. So you've got sort of country funk, you've got soul. Actually, his biggest hit is written by Myra Smith and Margaret Lewis, and it's a track called "Reconsider Me," which is a straight country song. So you've got a soul singer singing straight country, and I say initially, it confused me a little bit, looking for soul music. But that's a perfect example of that sort of more soulful country sound. Really nice.
Yeah, you're just going to be showing records that I'm going to have to go out and immediately buy.
Well, actually, this isn't an expensive record. I think I probably paid about a tenner for it, so one of the price sticker stuck to it, actually. But yeah, nice stuff. He's a bit of a nomad, as I say, recorded in the 60s for a number of different labels, just 45s, and this was his first album. But after that, again, he just he moved around from label to label, changing styles. I think he ended up with Rounder Records. So I think he made several albums for Rounder in the 80s, Yeah, nice.
Right, okay. I've lost my records. Oh, there they are. Okay, so this is Alex Harvey, and this is his debut album from 1971 on Capitol. Now, this is the sensational Alex Harvey, not the sensational Alex Harvey. No, I think he's sensational, but he's not the sensational.
Not the same guy, right? Okay,
not the same guy. So this is a guy who he was from Tennessee, and he did his master's degree in music and education, and he ended up going into teaching for a while. And that kind of also, he was into his music, and he got into sort of Nashville by being a sort of a transcriber for musicians, because he was he could write the music down. So he'd go into the studio with someone like Chris Christopherson, who couldn't write, and he would write out the stuff so that when they came to record the things, they could give it to the session players, and he could be presented. So that's how he kind of got in. And you probably know him from probably his biggest hit was writing Delta Dawn, which was Tanya Tucker had a huge hit with.
Oh, right, okay.
It was like 13. It's that really weird kind of slightly creepy.
Yeah, it is
13-year-old.
Creepy. It is creepy. That is one thing about country music, isn't it?
This is actually co-produced, some of it, by Kenny Rogers, and he worked a lot with Kenny Rogers. In fact, Kenny Rogers recorded about 18 of Alex. It's not showing up very well, is it? Sorry.
Yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Right. About 18 of Alex Harvey's songs. And who else did it? I mean, Jerry Lee Lewis, Scott Walker did some of his, Dusty Springfield. Three Dog Night had a hit with the track on here, Tulsa Turnaround, which so did Kenny Rogers and the new edition. No, first edition, not new edition. That would be a very different type of music.
It would be very different, yeah.
I always get those two mixed up. But yeah, this is great, and it has, again, I suppose it's that mix. I mean, Delta Dawn has a kind of a that's on it. So you've got Delta Dawn's the last track on here. You've got Tulsa Turnaround. In fact, he would do another version on a later album, which I don't have, which is perhaps a bit better than this one. This one's got kind of quite a lot of orchestration, but it's still good. And yeah, there's some sort of swampy, I suppose that's one of the things. If you see anything that has swamp involved, you can know it's going to have that sort of feel. So it's got a track called Who Doing of Miss Fanny DeBerry, followed by a track called Ritual of Miss Fanny DeBerry. So those are really funky tunes on here. And
so what year is that?
What
year is that, sorry?
Oh, so this is 71. Yeah. He did a string of albums, about 4 or 5 albums, and he still, I think he died last year, unfortunately.
Right,
so
okay.
Yeah, really worth listening to Tulsa Turnaround or Delta Dawn, actually, if you like a bit of a slow, soulful song.
Cool. Right. Okay. So again, another record. This is a UK copy on Polydor, but again, it's another Shelby Singleton SSS International release. So years ago now, I mentioned before that I went to Nashville just for a couple of nights, traveled through there. Yes. And strangely, obviously, I'm not a massive country fan, but I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame, and they had an exhibition about R&B music, which came out of Nashville. And this is the comp. It's called Night Train to Nashville, and it's a great compilation. It's got stuff on here like Robert Knight, Everlasting Love. Johnny Adams is on there as well. Also, Gene Allison, You Can Make It If You Try. You know, just really nice stuff. When I was there, I saw almost like, I suppose, like a video promo clip for this title track, Soul Shake. And so I got a copy of the album when we came back to the UK. But it's a soul record. But, you know, interestingly, with a lot of these sort of records, it's the guitar part which makes it more country. So it's a straightforward to the floor soul tune, but you've got some country picking all the way through it, basically. And that's what this is here. I say it's a nice album. It's Peggy Scott and Jojo Benson.
A great back cover.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, great back cover. Yeah, that should be the front cover, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it should be. But I'm pretty sure that the promo clip for that tune is on. It will be on YouTube. But it's a lovely tune. But it's definitely the guitar part which gives you that sort of funky vibe, you know. But I suppose once again, I think it's the same songwriters. Yeah, Myra Smith and Margaret Lewis. So it's obviously that connection with S International. But yeah, nice record. Yeah,
it's probably use of the Telecaster, isn't it? More than that's probably that's giving it that twangy kind of feel.
Yeah.
Okay. I keep forgetting where I put my records. Right. Now this is in a bit of a state. Sorry about this. So this is Gary and Randy Scruggs. Now you probably are more familiar with their father, Earl Scruggs, of course, the banjo player who started with Flattened Scruggs with Bill Monroe. And this is his son's, and I think this is before. This is from 1970. It's on Vanguard, which is an interesting label, because I always associate Vanguard as being quite a folky label.
Yeah.
So this is a great sort of country sort of groove to it. It's got tunes like, I mean, it's all cover versions. So it's cover versions of things like Louisiana Man by Doug Kershaw. You've got If I Were a Carpenter by Tim Hardin, Woodstock, Joni Mitchell, and all of the tracks that are like those have a real kind of groove to them, and often it's often just for the country to make it that funky. It's really just a sort of a moving bass line beyond the simple, because I mean that's one of the things with country. It's got a very simple bass line. Anything that's too jazzy or anything would not be allowed in a Nashville record, or it's the drums, the break beats. Think break beats, beats.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you got Who Stopped the Rain by CCR. I could do without Let It Be by by the Beatles.
What is it about that sort of period? Everybody had to do a Beatles song, didn't they?
Yeah. I know. You can understand how they made all their money. This is produced by Charlie Daniels and Neil Wilbur.
Right, okay.
So Charlie Daniels involved in this. He plays on it as well. He's a great guitar player and fiddle player.
Yeah.
Probably best known, of course, for Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of his albums from the early 70s, which I really should pick up because they're definitely country funk, you know?
Yeah. If you see his albums that are just Charlie Daniels, before it says the Charlie Daniels Band,
right?
You can guarantee those are going to be some nice sort of soulful, laid back kind of funky stuff. I mean, I still do like some of the Charlie Daniels Band stuff up, the first couple of albums. Then they get their sound and it gets very sort of southern rock.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing is, what's the difference between southern rock and country funk? Sometimes there's none, because it seems like country southern rock is a good way to sort of say it's country rock without saying country.
It is. It's a funny thing, really, because I mean, when I've been pulling records out of these last couple of days, it is very much a case of thinking, well, is that a country funk tune or is it southern rock? Because they're so close, but there's definitely a difference.
Yeah. But also you get an album by a band like the Marshall Tucker Band. On the face of it, southern rock, but you listen to it and go, well, that's definitely country rock, and that's country. So they're you can't label all these bands necessarily as producing one musical style. But I suppose the track I think that people should check out on this is the version of "I'll Be Your Baby Tonight" by Bob Dylan.
Oh, right.
Which is funkiest Bob Dylan tune I have ever heard.
So how did you come across that record then?
I don't know. I think Discogs is a great resource for following down the sort of the rabbit hole, you know, because you can follow artists and producers and the musicians and things like that. And also, you know, just listening to different YouTube channels and Facebook groups and stuff like that. I mean, it's not easy to find in the UK, this. This is why I've got a rather moth-eaten copy. There's another one they did together. I think that it's just before they formed the Earl Scruggs Review. They do another one which is called the Scruggs Brothers, I think, which has got that's one I'm after, which has again got some great tunes on it. Yeah, but I'll Be Your Baby Tonight on that is great. Yeah,
cool. Right, next up for me, this is an album by Nolan Porter. Now, obviously, we've lost a few artists over the last few weeks, and I think Nolan Porter actually passed away at the beginning of this month, and I haven't heard that mentioned at all in the VC. Now, he had two really big Northern Soul tunes. So he put out two albums in the early 70s. I think this is 71. It's on Lizard Records. And he put out an album after this. Now, on his second album, and his second album certainly goes for more money than this one. It's got two Northern Soul tunes, one of which is called If I Could Only Be Sure, which is an absolutely wonderful Northern Soul. I don't think it gets any better than that. You know, it's an absolute classic. And you probably recognise it if you heard it, you know. But this album, this is the one that came out before. This is his debut album, and it features members of of Zappa's band, so Mother's Invention, so including Lowell George, and it's very much his guitar playing that gives this that sort of southern swampy country funk sound. Definitely,
it's
a really nice record.
Before Little Feat, then.
Yeah, before Little Feat. So it's 71. So it's just before, isn't it? Yeah. So he only made two records and then disappeared. And actually, a local band out to where I am here, the Stone Foundation, they're like a mod band, a little bit sort of style counselling, that sort of thing. About 5 or 6 years ago, they brought him over from the States and got him to cut a couple of tracks with them. And there's a nice short little film. I think it must be available on YouTube to see. It's about a half-hour film, just about them in the studio bringing this. You know, it's clearly somebody who was a total idol to them. You know, he made these two records, which they absolutely loved, and they managed to get a hold of him. They brought him over to the UK, and they cut these couple of songs with him. And I think he did a couple of shows as well. And it's a really nice story, actually. But I say he passed away a few weeks ago. But this is a really nice album. And I say, you know, it doesn't come up too often, but it's not an expensive record either. You know, you'll get it for 10 or 12 quid. You know, so it's nice stuff.
Oh, good. I like this. I'm seeing some stuff I need to try and track down.
Yeah.
This is great. Do you know, this is a record I showed in the very first video, actually, that I made. So it's old hat, I suppose. But this is Marjo Gortner.
That's a great sleeve.
Look at that lovely hair.
Brilliant.
So this is called Bad But Not Evil from '93 on RCA. Great cowboy boots on the back. Now, Marjo Gortner is a very interesting guy. When he was a kid, he was a preacher. He was this bizarre sort of, you know, this 6-year-old preacher that everyone would come, you know, he'd travel around and people would come to see this incredible 6-year-old or whatever he was preaching. And as he sort of continued through his career and he was getting older, he started to doubt the kind of tricks that they used to kind of, you know, the plants in the audience and all the kind of various things that they would do to kind of prove that God was moving in mysterious ways. And he eventually kind of became a whistleblower. And there's a film that I think it won the Oscar for Best Documentary in about 70 or something like that, called Marjo, I think. Right. That is all that he did, all about evangelical preachers and actually debunking a lot of the sort of stuff that was going on. But he also decided he'd have a bit of a musical career, apart from going out with Linda Carter as well. Lucky.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, he's in a film with her as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. She gets a bit naked in it.
Right. Okay. I was just see my wife's in here.
It's not right seeing Wonder Woman in the nude.
No.
So anyway, so yeah. Now this is there is another album he did, but I think it's like a kind of accompanies the film, so it's all preachers and things like that. But this is a great sort of, everything on it is kind of got a gospel kind of tinge to it. So he's playing that. So you have so it's got things like I Shall Be Released, Bob Dylan, you know, and Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. It's got I'm a Man by, that's Spencer Davis, isn't it?
Spencer Davis, yeah.
But the two tracks on here that are probably the most, it's got yeah, Ballad of Spider John, which is by right, I can't remember his name. Willis Riley, what's his name? Wrong side. Oh yeah, Willis Allen Ramsey, who's one of the guys. I think he's on one of the country funk compilations. Okay. Anyway, yeah, but it's the two tracks that are by Thomas Jefferson Kay that are on here. And if you don't know Thomas Jefferson Kay, he produced No Other for Gene Clark. Gene Clark, yeah. And his two albums around the 70s are really worth hunting down because they are great. And the two tracks on that are Collection Box and Ho Bus. Which are both, I think they're both on Thomas Jefferson Kay's first album. In fact, Thomas Jefferson Kay had a habit of producing people's albums and getting them to do his songs. Right. Obviously, he goes, "Oh, I've got a great song. I think it might do well." I think the guy, what's his name, who was in Peter and Gordon, I can't remember his name, Waller, is it? He does it on his first solo album. But yeah, Ho Bus is just great. It's got this sort of a great opening, just guitar. Often you get this thing with country funk where it builds up. It starts with either just a sort of a bass line or a drum beat, and it kind of fills in as it goes along. It does seem to be one of the sort of the defining kind of features of many of the songs that could be called country rock. But yeah, Ho Bus, his version on this is just great. Gospel country funk, brilliant.
Cool. Right, okay, something you'll know, and I say there's a copy of this in the post here actually. This is Little Richard's album, I think it's from 1970, The Real Thing. So obviously Little Richard, it's funny really, because obviously, you know, you think about, well, when you think about Little Richard, you automatically think rock and roll, that you know, sort of golden age of rock and roll, that late 50s, those wonderful records that he made. Obviously he turned his back on that and turned his back on secular music, and he just recorded gospel tunes during the 60s. This was his first album away from that, and I think it actually includes a couple of hit singles in the States. Certainly, the opening track, "Freedom Blues," I think was a reasonably big single. But he actually recorded 2 or 3 almost like country funk records in the early 70s. There's this one. There's another one called "King of Rock and Roll," and the third one's called "The Second Coming." And I discovered these records through a compilation. You mentioned about talking about how you come across this sort of music. I've discovered this stuff mainly through compilation albums. It's the odd track here and there that jumps out at you know. But this album is the best of the 3. It's got a nice mix of out and out funk tunes. The title track is just a funk instrumental, about 6-7 minutes long. It's brilliant, but that's followed by a version of "Lovesick Blues." So that sort of gives you the sort of feel of, you know, of what it's doing. You've got sort of country tunes mixed up with sort of swampy funk tunes, and you've got country funk. It's a really nice record. It took me ages to find a copy of this. I ended up getting it online, and within a few weeks I found another copy at a car boot sale for a couple of quid. So that's what's in the post on the way to you at the minute. But yeah, lovely record. And of course, you know, that voice, so distinctive, so unique. Yeah, wonderful stuff.
He's great. In fact, was it last year, one of the Record Store Day releases was an unreleased album from that period called Southern Boy. I think it's called Southern Boy. That in America you can get hold of it quite easily. Here in the UK it's quite difficult. I kind of balked at paying 30-40 quid for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really good. It's got that lovely mix, and his voice, yeah, like you say, that voice, that kind of screeching at times, soulful sort of.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I said before that I had one of his records, Bamalama Bamaluma Jukebox, and You know, all the stuff that's been in that jukebox since my son's been born, he's 4 now. But it was that one song, the opening to that tune where he screams. I had to take out the jukebox because it always made him cry. It always made William cry because this scream, just scared of it. Whereas, you know, Johnny Rotten, anything like that, no bother at all. But Little Richard's scream, you know, sent him to tears. So yeah.
Well, I think that album, the King of Rock and Roll, is very much. It feels to me that there's a few pops in it to James Brown. He sort of he mentions, you know, there's, what is it that somebody says you don't sing like James Brown, and he says, but you don't look like me.
Yeah, and I think that the worst thing that happened to Little Richard was, you know, we made 2 or 3 really nice albums in the early 70s, and then the whole rock and roll revival thing came through. You know, there's that big gig at Wembley, wasn't there, where they all played at Wembley Stadium. And, you know, then he's on the rock and roll revival circuit, doing that for years and years, when, you know, at this point he's making really interesting music, totally different to what he was doing before. And it's very much that sort of southern country funk sound, you know. It's really nice.
I mean, they grew up with country on the radio, didn't they? I mean, because if you think about when he was growing up, there would be very little music from the black communities that would be played over the radio. Yeah. You know, so they grew up listening to country music. So it became sort of indoctrinated, you know. Yeah. Okay, the last one I'm going to show. I think the last one. Have you got? The last one? Just one more. Okay, Mac Davis. Now, Mac Davis, he is the prime example of records that you can pick up dirt cheap, but the funky country tunes are few and far between on them. Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of the other sort of ballads I find a bit too schmaltzy, a bit too, saccharini. But you get on all of his albums. If you see his sort of 70s albums, if you see them for 50p or something, pick them up, because you can guarantee there is going to be a funky killer tune on it. And this one, I should perhaps just say, Mac Davis was one of the people that became a sort of a writer, but actually managed to have a very, very good career afterwards in his own right, because he wrote In the Ghetto, that was done by Elvis Presley. And Elvis Presley did quite a few of his songs. He did other stuff, I think, for Dolly Parton. One of the big names, but he also did his own stuff. And one of the tracks on here that Elvis Presley did is A Little Less Conversation.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't realise that was a Mac Davis tune.
Yeah, oh, right. In fact, it's, is it, am I get this right? Now, there's one. Oh, no, it's Billy Strange. No, there's another one, which was, I think there's one he did with Delaney. What's his name? Bonnie and Delaney. What's his name? I can't remember his name. You know, the Bonnie and Delaney, the Delaney from Bonnie and Delaney. Bramlett. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he co-wrote something with him as well, but not this. Yeah, but A Little Less Conversation, because that was a big hit. What, about 10 years ago? No, probably 20
it was. I mean,
years.
forget the sort of dance version. Elvis's original of that is fantastic, you know.
But this version, is a great acoustic, funky kind of driving thing. If you like Elvis's version, you're probably gonna like this one.
Oh yeah, I'll give that a go. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, if you don't like Elvis's version, like this one, you'll like this one. So there you go. Yeah, beware of his records though. Schmaltzy.
Well, it's funny you should mention Mac Davis. So I'm my next up and my final sort of records is Solomon Burke, and I sent you a clip of one of the tunes from this recently on Facebook, didn't I? Now Solomon Burke, he's another artist where I don't. Well, he certainly blends all those styles. You know, it's gospel, there's blues, there's soul, there's country, and those are in all of his records. I mean, I picked this one here purely because he's got his cowboy threads on there. You can see that, you know. But nice stuff. But the album that we were talking about, this is a Charlie reissue of The Bishop Rides South. So this is the one with Proud Mary on. But the reissue, this is from the 80s. It adds an extra 4 tunes on the end of the record, which includes the likes of In the Ghetto. Now, you mentioned In the Ghetto there. Growing up as a kid, I always hated that song. I only knew Elvis's version, you know? And I remember my dad used to have an Elvis compilation on record. And I think In the Ghetto was sandwiched in between Marie's the Name of His Latest Flame and You're the Devil in Disguise. And it was always a real, you know, it's a real damp squid in between tunes like that, you know. But, you know, as we got older, I realised it was covered by so many people. So Candy Staten did it, Betty Swan did it, lovely Southern soul versions of In the Ghetto. And this is another one of those by Solomon Burke. But you mentioned before, you know, so you've got, I say, In the Ghetto by Mac Davis. You've got God Knows I Love You by Delaney Bramlett and Mac Davis, which is a really nice tune as well. And this is just a really nice album. So this is pretty cheap as well. This is the Charlie reissue of it. But it's worth getting this version because it's got the additional tracks on it as well. And this is a really nice Southern soulful record with a good dollop of country in there as well. Really nice.
Well, he did, didn't he? With his sort of his revival in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Was it yeah. I think the third album he did, the sort of after coming back, was called Nashville. It is a country.
Is that right?
album.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really worth picking up.
Because that first album that came back, the one that was produced by Joe Henry, is it Don't Give Up on Me? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you know, the likes of Elvis Costello writing for him and Van Morrison. It's a lovely record. It is. But, it's a great record. Yeah. I just think that, you know, Solomon Burke was one of these artists, but I don't think people knew what to do with him. You know, he got this great voice, and I think he almost suffered from having this mix of styles throughout his career, where he was doing a bit of everything.
But it's the king of rock and soul, wasn't he? Cole?
That's right.
Wasn't
That's right. So, but yeah, really nice stuff.
There you go. Oh well, I'm going to see if I can bung some needle drops or something at the end of this.
Yeah, cool.
And then but John, thanks for this. It's been fun.
I've got to get on Discogs now and look for some of those records.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah. Luckily, we're not going to be going for the same stuff.
That's it, yeah. Cool.
Okay, then.
Cheers, mate.
Right, cheers.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
That eat from his hand, with an old big coat with a rusty belt, his pants are baggy, long gray hair and crow feet eyes, his bed is shaggy. Canal runs by the bait stall, right at the fork in the road. Boss him a charge tobacco, got a toad side to carry his load. Yes, it's a Catman. Comes up, you find him fishing in the mangroves. Cooks his soup in an iron pot on a wood stove.
Standing on this mountain, looking over LA at the break of day. Takes my mind back to Georgia many years ago when I was just a babe. Papa plowed the fields and we'd walk behind in the fresh plowed ground with no shoes. No, ain't no resemblance between LA and Georgia but the morning dew.
Shut the light, shut the shade. You don't have less conversation, little more action, please. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. Little more biting, a little less bark, little less fighting, a little more spark. Shut your mouth and open up your heart, baby, satisfy me. Satisfy me. I work hard all day long to please you, treat you just like a queen. When I come home, you're just running your mouth, baby. You ain't saying the doggone thing. Give me a little less conversation, a little more action, please. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more fighting, a little less bark, a little less fighting, a little more spark. Shut your mouth and open up your heart.
Excellent.
Are they gone? They've gone. Oh, that's all right. Apart from me having my usual thing of not remembering what to say. Yeah.
That's all right.
I am. I think I'm getting an early onset dementia. I think I really am. My memory's getting shocking these days.
I just can't speak. I mean, at the weekend I was making. I just couldn't get my words out, you know. So tripping over my words.
I also have a real habit of getting halfway through a sentence, deciding I actually want to say another sentence, getting halfway through that, then realising I don't want to say that one. Louise just says, pick a sentence and finish it.